15. So our last 2 pages here. Caribbean history and culture, 16 and 17. Avast, you mateys, you hear your captain's voice thundering. It's his way of saying, listen up. It's hundreds of years ago, and you're aboard a British ship sailing the Caribbean Sea. Someone must have spotted an island, or maybe another ship. Is it an explorer, a merchant, or a pirate? As far back as 4000 BCE, the Caribbean has drawn sailors from other places. They all searched for riches, or a place to call home. Some were fierce, and some were peaceful. All were curious as to what wonders they would find. If you'd been on that ship, what might you have found? The Arawak above in this picture here are believed to have come from what we now call Venezuela and Guyana. They settled on the Caribbean islands closest to what we call South America. They lived peacefully until about 1200 CE, when the Carib invaded. Many Arawak were killed. Others who survived fled to islands we call Cuba, Hispaniola, and the Bahamas. In 1492, Columbus landed on what is today the Bahamas. Again, the peaceful Arawak fell victim to hostile invaders. Columbus and his men came in search of gold, but found none. Instead, Columbus claimed new lands for Spain, Hispaniola, Trinidad, the Virgin Islands, and much more. So this is the trade route. So these people right here, so we would sell whale, fur, timber, tobacco, rice. We would send all that from America to Europe. So we got all this different stuff and where it traveled. Moving here. So with its fertile land and tropical climate, the Caribbean became an ideal place to grow sugar, coffee, and other cash crops. From the 16th to the 19th centuries, demand grew for these goods. Growers looked for the cheapest possible laborers. About 10 million Africans were brought in chains to the Americas via the Atlantic triangular slave trade. They were forced to work on plantations or large farms. Triangular trade moves commodities between 3 regions. This here. If you don't know what a plantation is, it's a large farm. This particular system moved enslaved Africans, cash crops, and manufactured goods between West Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean and American colonies. These are the 3 places right here. Those were the 3 in the triangular slave trade. Toussaint L'Ouverture, the son of an enslaved African, led the Haitian independence movement in the late 18th century. When enslaved people in nearby French colony Saint-Domingue rebelled in 1791, he joined the fight. He led thousands in battles against the British, French, and Spanish. By 1800, he abolished slavery in Saint-Domingue and changed the slave colony into a self-governing society. He died in a prison in France in 1803. In 1804, Saint-Domingue became the independent nation of Haiti. One thing we need to know there too. 1804. We'll go right here. In 1959, Fidel Castro led a communist revolution in Cuba. It overthrew the dictator Fulgencio Batista. Castro was president, prime minister, and commander of armed forces in Cuba until 2008, when his brother Raoul took over. Today, communism, a system in which all resources are owned by the state, is still in effect in Cuba, but some things are changing. So this is communism. This is when everything is owned by the state or the government. The United States cut ties to Cuba in 1961, but reopened official relations in 2015. Jamaica and Cuba are among 13 independent Caribbean nations. The others are territories of other countries. Martinique is a French territory. Anguilla is one of the territories belonging to Britain. Aruba, Bonaire, and Curaçao are Dutch. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. European, African, Creole, and native traditions have influenced cultures throughout the Caribbean. And I don't know if you guys have this or not in yours, but probably a good thing to remember. Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands are territories of the United States. The United States took over Puerto Rico from Spain in 1898. The U.S. Virgin Islands include St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, which the United States bought from Denmark in 1917 for $25 million. And our last thing here, the Commonwealth of Nations is a group of 53 nations that have agreed to support basic principles such as human rights, the protection of the environment, and freedom of expression. These are all included in the Commonwealth Charter. North America's members include Canada, Belize, and several Caribbean nations, but not the U.S. Most members used to be part of the British Commonwealth. So yes, that is it for the rest of our social studies chapter. This week you're supposed to do the crossword, which will basically be all vocab words that we have highlighted. So as long as you got everything highlighted, it shouldn't be too hard. And then you have your end of the chapter worksheet. So you should be able to do most of that. I think I went through when we highlighted through this. I tried to get all the answers highlighted. We also have a couple Zoom meetings this week. So if you need to ask any questions about numbers for social studies, you can always ask me there. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your week and social studies ain't too hard for you. Okay.